All right, so we're just going to go through a quick run through of the basics of exponents, some vocabulary, rules, and properties. So here's some of the basics. So this is what a power looks like. It can also be expressed as x and the little caret symbol to the a. I know a lot of times, and unfortunately, with all this Google stuff, that we can't have you guys put exponents in there. So it's completely acceptable if you use the caret, which is Shift 6 on your keyboard. So 5 to the third power is an example of a power, or it can be written as 5 caret 3. So we call the bottom number here, we call it the base. So 5 would be the base, and 3 we call the exponent. Now 5, the base, tells you what number you are multiplying in your power. The exponent of 3 tells you how many times you're going to be multiplying by your base. So if you look over here in expanded form, which is the string of multiplication, kind of done out more to show you what a power looks like, 5 to the third power is equal to 5 times 5 times 5. So notice here that we have 3 5s being multiplied by each other. 5 to the third power. 5 tells you what we're multiplying. 3 tells you how many times. So the answer is 125. 6 to the fourth power is a string of multiplication of 6s 4 times. So 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 is 1,296. We also you can have multiplication expressions with powers. So 2 to the third power times 3 to the second power. So you can see that there are 3 2's being multiplied, 2 to the third power, times 2 3's being multiplied, 3 to the second power. And you can also do powers with variables. You can't simplify them or you can't evaluate them to have an answer, but you can write them out in expanded form this way. So we have a to the third times b to the second times c to the second, or b squared and c squared, and that would look like this right here. Some other basics, negative base versus the opposite. So you can hear these two powers are exactly the same. So we want to be very careful when we're moving forward with doing powers about negative signs. So if the negative is in front of the base, or if there's parentheses on the base and power and the negative is in front of that parentheses, that just means that your solution is negative. So when you evaluate 5 to the third power, you're just going to put a negative in front. So notice how the negative came through, it stayed in front, and we do 5 to the third power separately. And then our answer is 125, and that negative stays out in front. That's very different than this option. So look very carefully. See the difference between negative 5 to the third power and negative 5 to the third power. This is actually stating that my base is negative 5, whereas this, the base was still positive 5. The negative just comes along for the ride. This one, the base is negative 5, so we're going to multiply negative 5 by itself 3 times so that you can see the difference between this one and the one above. So my answer is still negative 125, but you have to be very careful about what these two things are talking about. If we do an example, if you look at the next example, when it's to an even power or an even exponent, it's going to change your answer's sign. So 2 to the fourth power here, but negative, would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16, and the negative comes along for the ride. This is saying negative 2 to the fourth power. So let's multiply negative 2 by itself 4 times. So you can notice that string of multiplication here. And remember, a negative times negative is a positive. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And multiply those together, you get positive 16. So they look like they're talking about the same thing, but you're getting different solutions. So be very careful about that. And then 0 base and power of 1. 0 to any power is 0. So 0 to the third power is multiplying 0 by itself 3 times, which is 0. Same thing with 0 to the fifth. And then anything to the first power is itself. So this is very tricky, but a lot of times when we're going to be working with the exponent rules in the upcoming lesson, they're going to write 4, plain 4, in any of those problems. Your job as the student is to remember that 4 is really 4 to the first power, or negative 8 is really -8 to the first power. There really is an exponent there that we don't write. And just be very careful, it's not 0. It's not 4 to the 0 or -8 to the 0. It's really to the first power. So it's something to make sure that we are careful of. So those are some of the basics. This will help you with the upcoming lessons. So keep this up in your browser tab while you're doing the work for today, and good luck.